Hey peeps, I realized it's been forever since I've done a witchy chat, and I wanted to sit down and just kind of do a seasonal witchy chat, share with you guys where I'm at in my personal journey, what I'm using for decks personally, and also share some book recommendations, some other witchy things that I have really been enjoying. So this is going to be a long chatty video, so you might want a cup of tea or an adult libation if it's that time of day. But settle in, let's sit down and chat. You know, we've had a lot of content on the channel that has been really fun to do, but it's been more like tutorial based and seasonally based as far as practice wise. And so this is going to be just really informal, enjoying our time together and me just kind of sharing with you what I've been exploring. So it's interesting because Samhain was such a liminal, I mean, it is of course one of two of the most liminal Sabbats that those of us who are witches observe. But I found it to be a particularly almost like loud in its silence and an initiation. The Sabbat felt very much like an initiatory Sabbat for me. And I really had personally for myself, almost like a little mini dark night of the soul after that Samhain. And so I've really emerged from that space feeling very, very connected to the dark feminine, very inspired, and very much aware of this new level of embodying the dark feminine and what that means to live that as a journey. And there's a new level that I've stepped into with that, which has been really just juicy and exciting. I was dealing with a migraine for a few days at the like the middle to the end of this past week. And so I actually had to stop and kind of admit that I was a little bit burnt out and rest a little bit, which was part of that dark night of the soul. Because I was like, you know, come on, I got stuff to do. I have things to do. But it's been very apparent for Vincent and I health-wise over the last few months that we've kind of needed a break. So the universe gave me take a little time out there. Four of Swords was real, as I tell my clients all the time. I live it too. But I emerged after the last few days of kind of cocooning and my body telling me, okay, I gotta slow down, feeling really, really tapped into the mystery of the dark feminine and that space of the void, the power of the dark feminine being very much the void, which to me, the end of October to the even into January is very much a space of the void. It's very much that death energy. And even though we're beginning to step into the light, to know that the light is there, to embrace that, I think we're still dancing a lot with the void, with the underworld, with the darkness. And I've really been sitting with, you know, I think there's that rebellious space we go into where we're like, yeah, I'm working with the dark feminine. I'm going into that underworld. I'm living in that void, and it's very sexy and delicious, right? Which is really fun. But then there's also that space where you realize, oh, if I'm living this, then what is the void for me, right? And it is that nothingness from which the potentiality of all things can spring. And when we occupy that space, there is a real difference to our makeup, our essence, our sense of self. And there's something for me always about stepping back into my son's school year because, you know, in the summer, like I'm very much in another realm. And then when I have to step back into some of that more public self, you realize the difference of how you're living from most people. And it's quite profound to see the contrast. But I think have reached a new level of reveling, not rebelling, with the energy of the dark feminine. That rebellious space is really beautiful and fun to dance with. But then when you're anchoring and embodying that and you realize over time how you are really living it, like there's that period where you say you're living it and you hope you're stepping into that, and then there's that time when you really know that you're living it, and the void becomes not only a friend but also this space of mystery and magic that you get to tap into and dance with and flow with. And so I've really, really been very profoundly feeling that personally, especially over the last week. And we also here in the States just had our election, and there's been a lot of fear and energy around that, a mourning period, a sadness, fear again. And when all of that is in the air, in the energy, there's a listening and another level of embodying the void that you can begin to step into. And so that I've been feeling that too, of holding a space that is going to be different and separate, a space of welcoming for those with fears to feel comforted by, but also understanding that the path, we have to walk the path, right? Wherever we live, whatever country we call home, we have to walk our paths. And so the next steps forward, they're not always clear, they're not always assured. But the one thing that we can always dance with are our gods, our path, and for me, anchoring into the sacred feminine, embodying that energy, living with that energy, invoking that energy, exploring that perspective. So I've very much been tapped into that energy and very aware that I'm at a new level with the goddess, with the dark sacred feminine, and that I can really let go of a desire at times I've had to fit in or to be like others, but to fully embrace. Now, you all know I've been on this journey for many years. You all have been sharing it with me. But there's a new level of embracing the separateness of the witch at the edge of the woods, and really no longer needing to hold on to even a desire to be perhaps like whatever our idea of societal safety and fulfillment and success is. And I really love, like, having felt another layer of that release, how much more connected I feel, not only to my gods and my path, but to myself, and to this essence that in this incarnation, I'm having a lifelong dance embracing. And I feel really lucky and really fortunate that I get to explore the dark feminine and I don't have to hide it. I get to really, really dance with it and express it and be with it. And it's so fucking amazing. So with that, in the preparatory space to sew in, I had been working with Persephone a lot, and I've talked about that, and I have a workshop that's in the works with her energy. But Lilith kind of kicked down the door the night before Samhain, and she has really been here to anchor in this energy of the dark feminine, and to move into a re-embracing of that, and to renew a commitment around that for myself that I'm so grateful for, and I feel so invigorated by her presence. And gosh, she's really just become a best friend in a way that I didn't think I was going to experience Lilith back in the day. But I feel really very much, you know, when you think of the Hierophant card in the Tarot of Vampires and you see Venus as a suppliant to the everlasting. I experienced connection with Lilith very much like that at first, that I was kneeling before her, learning from her. And now I see us very much seated together in the dark, talking and sharing and celebrating, but also being very real with each other. And it is such a joyful celebration. It's such a joyful celebration. And I think I did need that burnout space to be like, you know what, you can't, you got to rest. And also, like, those very human fears and concerns we all always have, that those don't have to rule who we are and fill us with a sense of self-doubt and fill us with a sense of a lack of trust of the self. So personally, that's very much what I've been exploring and undergoing. So as I was saying, Lilith, very strong. Babalon, very strong. Santa Muerta, very strong energetically coming through. And I was really surprised that it was like, I was in the energy of Samhain for about 3 days, and then boom, it moved over into this energy of preparation for Yule. And I was very surprised because I kind of thought that I would be dancing with Samhain's energy for a long time. And it's always interesting when you are on this path, you see how sometimes you stay with the energy of a Sabbath for a while outside of the typical 3-day period we associate with that energy. And sometimes it just cycles right through to the next. And it's kind of, it was kind of jarring how quickly I felt like, oh my God, we're shifting now into this energy. And I was surprised, like for me, you guys know, I love my candles. I love fire magic. I love candle magic. It's very much a part of my practice. It always has been. And so I had all of these kind of musky, warm scents that I had, purchased to last me until I moved into December. And my pine and fir candles instead have come out immediately. And they're like, no, this is the energy. This is the vibe. It's very much about the pine trees in the winter. So where I live in New England, we have a lot of pine trees, a lot of pine trees. And something happens after the end of October when all the leaves have fallen off the other trees. And so it's a lot of tree skeletons, I like to call them. I feel like I get to see the skeletons of the trees, and I love to talk to them. I always have since I was a kid. I've loved naked tree branches and the way that you can talk to trees when they're not covered with their foliage. But when those fall, what's left over are the fir, the pine, and those needles and the pine cones and that very green coloring. But it's not a green that's the green of spring. It's the green of winter here in New England. And so these candle scents were like, no, okay, we're going right into the Yule time scent, which usually doesn't come up. I don't really dive into that space until after Thanksgiving here in the States. We celebrate Thanksgiving at the end of November. I don't usually step into that space until the end of November. And then I have a very brief love affair in December, and then January, February tend to be very difficult months for me because it's very cold and very dark here. And it's just very, very cold. And I don't love feeling cold. But we have not had a fall that's like anything I've ever experienced here. Like we just had it was like 75 degrees a couple days ago. It's 40 degrees today. It's a very strange fluctuation that's happening here, but it hasn't really felt like fall in some ways here. So I was very surprised that we shifted. I could feel the energy shifting right into this preparatory space for Yule. Now, as I was just saying, I have been in my own underworld, and I feel very much of the void right now, which is that infinite blackness, right? So I'm not saying that I am feeling the light of Yule and the white stag coming forward to lead me into the ascent. Instead, I feel that I am very much within the underworld, but I'm connected to the white stag's light and dancing with the curiosity that I typically associate with Yule as an essence very quickly. So that's been very interesting. And along those lines, the decks that have come forward, it was like, boom, we moved out of the very vampiric, dark, lusty energy that I usually really enjoy dancing with for most of November. And instead, the Chicoli Tarot has come out, the Laputan Oracle, Caitlin McCarthy's Dark Goddesses Oracle, the Nameless One Tarot and Oracle deck, the Tantric Dakini, the Uncommon Tarot, and Angelarium Oracle of the Fallen have come forward. Now, there's a feeling to these decks. They're very blue. They're very blue in their coloring. I think I said the Stunning Tarot, but if I forgot to say the Stunning Tarot, I also had pulled that deck as well. And the Dream Keepers Tarot I've been working with personally as well, kind of stepping into this landscape with this dance of this very ethereal air element, angel and demon, maiden and crone dance that are these decks. And the Chicole Tarot is a very specific deck in my collection. We've talked a lot about it over the years. And I only work with her for very specific periods of time, typically around shadow work. And so it's a very specific tool in my collection. But she's actually come forward this time to work with me for storytelling, which is very, very different. So Vincent and I have been doing a lot of creative writing with the Thistledown Oracle and the decks from the Three Trees Tarot Publishing House. We have been really loving working with those together. But the Chicole Tarot said to me, oh, I'm coming forward for you to tell some stories, but not from a space of the mother, from a space of the maiden in the void. So I am intrigued to see what we're going to do together right now, because I'm not working with her as a shadow deck. I'm working with her from a perspective of telling stories from the dark feminine's essence within the void. So I'm very intrigued to see what she and I are going to do together. And I think I'm going to have a new perspective on working with her, which I will, of course, bring that to the channel. I promise. I promise. So the other deck that I've been working with since I purchased it earlier recently is the Ferrant Pinter Tarot. I have an unboxing that's coming to the channel today as well. I recorded it another day, but it's getting uploaded to the channel today. This one is artistically inspiring me. And again, from a storytelling perspective, I've just really shifted into this very magical space of embodiment, storytelling, and the sense of priestesshood, the surrender to being the channel, being the void, being in some ways unknowable even towards myself. So this deck is one that really has been in alignment with this very ethereal, dreamlike state. And the Lippy Oracle, you guys know, discovered this deck last year. Had an intense love affair. Then she wasn't with me for specific parts of my journey over the last year, but oh, is she back? Oh, is she back? And I could not be happier. I am so just dancing with this deck, dancing with the mystery of it, with the precociousness, the ferocity, the refusal to hide from the truth. There's so much of that in this deck. And upside down, real life. And I just am like, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I remember why I fell in love with you. I want to do nothing but spend time with you. And I want to just dance with you in the dark while listening to ambient music. You know, it's just that kind of feeling. So very, very, very connected to this one. I'm not going to show you imagery from all of these decks, but I do just want to mention them so you guys can know what I'm working with in case you want to pull them out of your collection. Stunning Tarot, the 3rd edition, the Dreamkeepers Tarot. Again, another very, it's like fluid, but it's air element fluid. It's not really water element fluid, which again, not my home place. And yet I'm having this underworld exploration with it, which again, not the element I would go to from this underworld exploration. The Dark Goddesses Oracle by Caitlin McCarthy. I'm really, again, enjoying connecting with the Divine Feminine in her dark face with this deck. Not only that, I love Caitlin McCarthy's artwork. It really inspires me. And so this has been very much an inspiration for my flavor as I move through the day. You know, I have my own morning rituals. I've talked about that on the channel. I do have another video coming for the Glamour Magic series soon as well. But I have my own morning rituals, and I don't roll out of bed and start the day. I like to have a good 2 to 3 hours to myself to draw cards, to journal, to feel into the energy, to understand what element I'm working with, where I'm at on the wheel. And this is a really great deck for what face of the dark feminine am I dancing with today? How do I want to embody her? How do I want to dress? How do I want to present myself? What mystery do I want to express in my being? And that others, if they connect with me, can dance with. So this is a wonderful deck to do that with. If you like Caitlin's artwork and you've been on the fence about this one, I say purchase it. I say purchase it because damn. Okay. The Tantric Dakini. This is one of those precocious, sensual, lusty decks. And this is another thing that I've really been, that I feel Lilith has been pushing me and Babalon has been pushing me around, is sensuality. Living a fully sensual life with that abandon. And it, in a way, it bringing awareness to living from that sensual perspective and walking in beauty. It makes you very present to the moment. It also allows you to know yourself and to treat yourself with reverence. I found a new layer of treating my body, my being, myself with reverence, and a desire to not fritter away my time and energy with things from the past, with things that don't make me feel good if I consume them, whether that's social media content or food. Relationships, connections I've outgrown that just feel like you're spinning your tires in. Like, why am I going to fritter away the time on that? When I can bring lusty presence to the moment, and I want to fully be with that energy. So it almost causes you to be, oh no, I think it does cause you to treat your being, your body, and your experience with more reverence, because it's a work of art, right? And so if you're going to be with that, if you're going to embody that, then things that drain you cannot take up most of your time any longer. And that's like a new level of understanding boundaries too. So, but the Tantric Dakini is very sensual and lusty to me. It's an earthy magician. And so I've been enjoying pulling this one out. And also Empress and Basil on Instagram, she had included it with a deck that she gifted me, and I am going to be unboxing on the channel very soon. That will probably be coming tomorrow to the channel if you're watching this when I upload this. But there's a tarot deck that she had done some imagery with that I'm online, and I'm very intrigued to see in person how I experience those two decks. So I'll probably do a compare and contrast with those two. Another deck that I pulled out due to unboxing this deck is the Uncommon Tarot. And I feel like it very much discusses the color theme for this time of year for me, this particular year. Like, look at the color theme. There's a very clear color theme here. And the Uncommon Tarot carries that color theme within it really beautifully. So I am enjoying working with this one again. I was like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this deck. I love that when you pull out a deck you haven't worked with in a while, they've been on vacation, and you're like, oh my God, we're besties. Like, I forgot how much fun it is to work with you. That's really how I've been feeling about the Uncommon Tarot. It's so beautiful. Again, it's ethereal and lusty, but from an air element perspective. So I've really, really been dancing with that. And the other deck that has come up really strongly is the Nameless one. This is an investment deck. I'm not even sure if it's still available for purchase. If I remember, I will try to put the link to Zia's website down below. So if you're called to work with this one, you can. I have a very dear friend and sister in the cards. I believe I've done an unboxing of this deck on the channel. And she had said to me, I think you should get it. She's like, I think you're going to regret it if you don't get this one. And so I did invest a lot of money, and I purchased not only the deck, but the large compendium that comes with this deck. I only work with this deck in the winter months, typically when it's very dark outside. And so I have a lot more time to cozy up with the deck and the compendium. And I really consider this a study deck. Like the Thoth Tarot, I don't work with this deck and just sling cards with it and like fling cards everywhere and then go back to whatever. I really look at this deck as like, this is a world that I'm stepping into, and I need to understand how it was created so that I can understand how I live in this world, the world that is this deck. And that is the Nameless one. And so And there are parts that I deeply love about this deck, and I really struggle with the court cards in this deck. That was a court card image you just saw. And so I sit with a lot how I'm going to bring this deck outside. I work with this deck personally, and I work with this deck in mentorship packages. I've actually had a large amount of students over the last few years since this deck came out ask to study the deck with me. And so I've done a lot of mentorship work. Again, focused study, not just read it like a Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, but like focused study with this deck. And so this deck has come out again. And another wonderful mentorship student and I, we've been working together for a very long time, and we worked with this deck in the month of October. It spilled into November together. And my goodness, was it amazing to witness how creatively inspired both she and I felt from this deck. And this deck is really unique. And so this is coming forward for me to study, for me to work with, and for me to find another layer of relationship with this deck. I love decks like this that really force me to sink my teeth into them, to get to know them, to do the hard work, to understand them. Much like, am I calling this the right name? The Thistledown Oracle. This guy, which I just unboxed recently. Oh my God, I love these decks. I want this deck creator and the artist, which I believe is her partner, I just want them to keep making decks forever, because these are sweet, darling, beautiful forest worlds and beings that we get to connect with. And these are another set of decks that I have a really intimate relationship with, but it's very much based on creative writing and exploring those worlds, which those worlds feel very different from this world, but it's just as immersive. I really love immersive decks like that. Tarot of Vampires is another example of one such deck. And then, you know, my staples right now, Tarot of Vampires, the Void Tarot, the Queen Mab Oracle, the Lost Oracle. Those are decks that I kind of am, as I've acquired those newer decks this year, but the Old Faithfuls, TOV, Queen Mab, I mean, those are pretty much always daily decks for me, but the Lost Oracle, the Void Tarot, those two have also come forward to really be part of the daily makeup of myself and my practice. So I'm already at 30 minutes. I'm gonna take a little sip of tea. Oh, I'm almost out. Last thing I will say is Angelarium, Oracle of the Fallen, another air element demonic deck that is deeply profound, very immersive, and a no holds barred deck has also been one that has been pulled out and is sitting with me and is breathing in front of me and that we are connecting with. I really, really love this deck. It's a powerhouse. It's no joke. It is not for the faint of heart, but if you get to know it and you do the work with it, it is a deck that will know you intimately. And I have very specifically said that will know you intimately. I don't know that you know this deck as intimately as it knows you, but it's a very special one. And again, another one I'm deeply and profoundly grateful to have. So just really quickly, I thought I would share, I already shared with my Patreon peeps, but my journal is pink. I know it's weird, but I'm kind of doing this like dark Venus, sister to Lilith vibe with it. I don't know, it's happening. We're going with it. I'm enjoying it. It's fun, but that's my journal right now. And I've been doing a shit ton of journaling. Yes, there is a TOV workshop coming. There is a Dark Persephone workshop coming. Due to ill health on both my son's part and myself, I have not been able to fully put them together, but they are coming soon. And so my last journal is filled with card spreads and outlines for those workshops. And so this new one is also rapidly filling up. So I don't even know how long I'm going to have that one with all of the ideas in my head for those workshops and the journey that you undertake when you do an intensive like that. So we'll see even how long this one might be full. I mean, I just opened it this past weekend, and I'm already there. So we'll see. Okay. So what I've been reading, and I am waiting to get 2 books in the mail. the essays of Anais Nin and, or am I supposed to pronounce that Anais? The essays of Anais Nin, and then there's one book of her poetry. I had heard of her, of course, but kind of fell down a rabbit hole recently with uncovering her connection to the dark feminine in a way. And so I'm very intrigued to read more of her work and connect more with her essence, if you will. So those two books, because I live in the middle of nowhere, still waiting for those to come. So I do have a secondary book channel. I have not been able to upload to it very much of late, but I have read many books. And so I am hoping maybe over the next week, I might get to add to that. And I will try to remember to put the link to the channel in the description box below. But I'm going to save most of my book talk that's not witchcraft related for that channel, so that those of you who really don't want to sift through that part of the witchy chat videos aren't bored. But I do have a separate book channel now, so I can talk more about books, because I have been reading vociferously this year. So, but what I've been reading right now, just non-witchy really quickly, I'm in the middle of reading Diavola. I purchased this over the summer, and now I'm really getting into it. It's a very fucked up family horror story. It takes place in Italy. It's quite expansive. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies is kind of going with my thistledown, oak, ash, and thorn vibe. And I went on like I fell down a rabbit hole for my gothic romances, and I really want to collect 1970s gothic romances in their original form. So this is my, well, I did purchase last year repurchased a lot of Victoria Holt's 70s gothic romances. So I have those already, but I want to start collecting these little paperbacks. And so this is the first one that I've purchased to start the collection off. And it is a queen-size gothic Dark Threshold by Grace Corin. Who was the one who possessed her in this marriage made in hell? So I purchased this. I'm excited to read this one. It's actually in really good shape too. It's from the 70s. So the other thing that I've purchased, and I'm about to do an unboxing on the channel for, that will get recorded at some point this weekend, because these are the 3 Oracle decks. They are 3 decks that were independently produced by the same author who wrote Persephone's Pathway, which I've really been enjoying reading as I've been creating the Dark Persephone workshop. So this author and artist, her name is Jennifer Heather. This is Persephone's Pathway. I really recommend this one if you want to work with Persephone. Her writing voice is really beautiful, very easy to connect with. You feel very inspired. You feel like you're learning, but you don't feel like you're being talked down to in any way. It's not overly wordy, but it's also not pedestrian. Really, really love her work. Again, this is Jennifer Heather. This is Persephone's Pathway. But she created 3 Oracle decks. And so those are the 3 decks that I just showed you in their boxes, which I will be unboxing. And I had to purchase the guidebooks on Amazon separately. So Persephone's Oracle, Hecate's Oracle, and Lilith's Oracle. I've been reading through these guidebooks, preparing to receive the Oracle decks themselves, because I've been really excited to sink my teeth into these. And so really enjoy the information she shares in the introductions. And I'm looking forward to connecting with her decks as well. So again, this is Jennifer Heather. There's Persephone's Oracle, there's Hecate's Oracle, and there's Lilith's Oracle. Anytime I can get decks for these goddesses, I'm always going to do it. And then the other thing that I've been reading, I had purchased She of the Sea some time ago, but I'm now sinking into it by Lucy H. Pierce. And she also just released recently Crow Moon, and so I've purchased that as well. I've started reading this one, really great. Excited to really dive into this one over the next few weeks. The other book that I've really been enjoying in regards to connecting with Babalon, whose energy I have felt very profoundly. She was very strong for me last year. This time she's coming through again. So I have a feeling she and I will continue to work together in November, December, January, February. But I purchased the Babalon Hymnal Poetry from the Abyss by Georgia Van Ralt. You guys may remember there's another book by her in honor of Babalon, which I really, really, really love. So I've purchased this one, and I'm reading this one, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly. I'm not sure if it's still available for purchase. Last time, because I had recommended it to a student and I went to get the link and it said that it was out of print, not available. So I apologize if I've just said this book to you and you want to get it and you can't find it. If it is available for purchase, I will put the link to the Amazon link to purchase this one in the description box down below. But that's what I've been reading. That's what's been inspiring me. That's what my journey has been about as I move through this beautiful autumn of 2024. And there's a lot of energy to traverse in general for all of us on this plane of existence, let alone other realms. So yeah, this is what I've been exploring. But you guys let me know. How are you feeling? What are you reading? What are you working with deck-wise? What do you feel energetically? Are you guys feeling the push into Yule a lot faster this particular season? I would love to know your thoughts, your experiences as well. So feel free to share down below in the comments section. You guys know I check in when I can and try to respond to as many of you as I can. And I should say as well, I released today a new offering on the Etsy shop called Blood Sisters of Moon and Tides. This is something that many of you who have studied with me in the past or who are working professionally in this field and want a mentorship experience, but just in a 1-hour session, have asked for. And I have made that available now on the Etsy shop as well. I'll put the link to that in the description box down below too. It's really designed to assist you in feeling supported, encouraged, and guided in your journey as a professional reader, as a healer, as a priestess or a priest on your path. And it's really focused on that. So it's not a psychic reading. It's been requested by many people who studied with me in the past who don't necessarily need to purchase another mentorship package, but want to be able to have some time to check in and to feel encouraged and re-inspired on their path as again, a professional reader, professional healer, professional priestess or priest. So I have finally made that available as well. If you are interested, you can check that out in the description box down below. I should also say, coming next week are going to be my year ahead offerings. I will post a YouTube video for them when they become available. It is first come, first serve, limited space. I only take on a certain amount and I record them from mid-November until the end of December. So when that becomes available, I will be posting that as well. Don't worry about that. I will post to Patreon peeps, always get first dibs. Then it will come to Instagram, and then I will post to YouTube the advertising. So be sure to check out those 3 areas if you want to purchase your year ahead reading with me this year as well. But as always, my dears, I am sending you guys oceans of love. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. It's so wonderful to have this space to share and connect in really authentic ways. So I am sending you, as always, oceans of love, and I will, of course, see you in the next video. Take care.